Hi, Reed.
Hey, Scott. Do you
Uh,
remember where we met? Do you remember where we met, Scott?
I'm going to tell that story and see if it conflicts with your version.
Oh, okay.
Um, uh, First of all, this is Freeman Fridays. Let me do the overview. Freeman Fridays is a series that we offer occasionally as we get people like Reed to come in and do it. And it's a free event for our community and growing community and anybody who wants to attend, because we later put it on our YouTube channel and that gets a lot of play and people can see it later and send it around to people. So we hope you do that and subscribe to us on YouTube. There's a lot of wonderful talks on that already. And if you don't know about our studio, do check it out on the website. I won't go into detail, but we have a lot of classes to offer you. They are immensely successful during this lockdown. It's been really a boon for everyone. Reed is also on our faculty. And check that out. The money, if you donate tonight, you don't have to, but if you do, it's going to a really wonderful group called Black Theater United. You might have heard of them. We've been sponsoring them for several events now, and we've raised quite a bit of money. The studio always chips in a chunk as well. But these $5, $10, $20 donations really, really help because they are in the fight against voter suppression. They did an incredible job, especially around Georgia, with Stacey Abrams, who they're associated with, and they're continuing that fight these next couple of months. So do support them. They're made up of actors like you, primarily from the Black theater community. Some amazing names if you look at their website. The person I've been coordinating with is Vanessa Williams, but they got Levat Davis and Roger McDonald and wonderful people doing wonderful things. So that's my promo on that. So what are these Freeman Fridays? They're just a way to have community, even though we're far apart. And we found them to be really successful from the feedback we're getting. And to engage in interesting conversations with artists like yourself, whatever stage your career's at, because there's a commonality of purpose and of how actors and other creative artists can serve our society and how important that is. Reed Birney is a great person to have for that. I've known Reed, we were just trying to figure this out, over 25 years. We met in regional theater in a little place I like to call Cincinnati. And we were, I'm wondering if your version of this will differ, Reed. We were in shows at a theater that had two stages, and we were rehearsing or acting. One of us was on.
We're in The Immigrant, if I'm correct.
I was in a play called The Immigrant.
Right. And you were in the big boy theater. I was in the little black box theater, the Shelter House in Cincinnati, doing a play called Scotland Road about the Titanic before the Titanic craze hit.
Mm-hmm.
And well, always in the vanguard. And so, but I had a great time. There were a lot of wonderful people there doing plays. Am I remembering that? Was Patrick Page there?
Patrick was in. He was in the show after us. They were rehearsing, and it was.
We were rehearsing, so he was around. Yeah, that's where I first met Patrick too.
Me too. Yes.
But we would all
hang out. We hung out at the bar afterwards.
At the library. Was it called the library? That was a dusty drawer I just opened up.
Wow, I don't remember.
I think it was called the library, but maybe not.
That's right, Patrick Page.
Yeah.
And we were both kind of playing I was the lead role for sure.
I was the lead role.
And you were the lead role in yours.
I was the only fellow in my play.
So we were like, lead actors. And
we were a big deal.
How you doing?
Really big deals. Yeah.
But I wanted to say the thing that I admired about you then, when your career hadn't ascended to this place where you are now, if I may, is that you haven't changed a bit. I mean, your purpose as an actor and the things you're interested in doing are similar. And what I really remember about you, mostly going to see the show on our off night or something, and thinking, who is this guy? I don't really know. I mean, I heard of you vaguely, and because in regional theater circles, everybody knows everybody. I heard vaguely, and I thought, the thing I remember is just how present you are. I mean, this incredible presence, just absolutely in the moment all the time. Almost
that's nice.
Like that idea that I know he's acting, but it doesn't feel like he's acting.
Which that's good. I think that's the thing, isn't it? Isn't that the whole idea?
Well, we work so hard to create that illusion, but you just have that thing.
I know.
It's there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
Not everybody can figure that out, and everybody's in the process of figuring that out, how to make it look easy. I think it is kind of easy, actually. Um, I think we torture ourselves way too much about doing acting right. Um, I think it's got way more ease and uh, lightness to it, even when you're playing Medea. I think it's, my students have heard me say this, and you've heard me say this, but I think it's the same as playing in the sandbox.
Mm.
It's just really good pretending.
Mm.
And when when you're in the sandbox, you're operating at 110% imagination. You're fully committed to being the king of England. Uh, you don't actually believe you're the king of England, but you're fully on it, and you're open to it. If your sister jumps in the sandbox and says there's a monster coming, you don't say, "I need 5 minutes to figure that out. Thanks. I'll get back to you." You just go with it. So it's hard. It's hard to see people torture themselves about acting. I think the effect of acting is quite mysterious. I don't think acting itself is that mysterious. It's just pretending.
Yeah, but it's that old adage about Picasso, where someone said, "Look at that, a child could do that." And Picasso famously said, "Yeah, it
Yeah,
took me an entire lifetime to learn how to paint like a child."
that's right.
In
Just to
the
let it come through you and just get out of your way. We all get so trapped in our own way about, when we've read so many acting books and been to so many different teachers who've told us you've got to do this to do it right. And I don't know that. I think you take what you can from every teacher, but all of those techniques are simply to get you back to being free in the sandbox, I think.
part of that, because I don't want people to get the idea if they haven't seen you perform in some things I have and that weren't so easy, some pretty torturous, difficult caves you had to go into. I'm thinking about Blasted in particular. And other thing I think of you when I think of adjectives for you is that you're pretty fearless. You're pretty joyfully fearless. You're pretty gleeful about that. You're like, okay, what the sandbox?
Yeah.
Might be quicksand. I'm in. Somebody hopefully pull me out if I.
Well, I don't think you can really be an actor and be afraid. I think you can be afraid as much as you want in your dressing room and torture yourself and pace and cry and do everything. But once you walk out on stage, you simply cannot be afraid, because then you won't, then you're watching yourself and you're not present and you're not alive. The whole point is to be alive, I think, on stage. And if you're afraid, then there's just an enormous brick wall in front of you.
You don't seem to have this problem, but somebody's probably going to ask you in the Q&A, how, if you have those walls up for whatever is going on in your life from the past to the present, stage fright, for instance. We both know really incredible actors who are quite successful and still have stage fright. Um, where does that fit in your mind?
Where does stage fright fit in? I mean, I get nervous, and every time I'm about to do something, I say, "Oh, this really has to be the last time I do this. This is insane
Hmm.
to be my age and putting myself through this. What am I possibly thinking?" I mean, there's every reason to be afraid. You're about to do one of the scariest things in the world. You're essentially walking out in front of a group of people with no clothes on. It's terrifying. And fear is would be an appropriate response, but you can't do your work if you're scared. So you just have to, at the end of the day, it's a play or it's a movie, and it's fantastic. And it's going to, if you're lucky, it's going to touch a lot of people, but it's a play. Is that awful? Is that a terrible thing to say?
No, I think it's healthy to put it in context.
Yeah, it's we get as actors to have the most sort of glorious life playing and exploring the human condition. How thrilling that we get to do that, that we get paid and are rewarded for asking big questions about what it is to be alive. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'd also I hope you wouldn't underestimate the power that an actor like yourself can have on people that years later will say that meant so, that performance, not just the whole production you were part of or your performance in it, meant and still means so much to me. I mean, I have seminal performances in my heart that
Yeah,
are,
me too.
I hadn't had them, I'd be a different person. Had those
That's right.
experiences in the audience,
That's right.
So there was a certain not being
Continue
pretentious.
to inspire. I never need to see Moon for the Misbegotten again because I saw it twice with Colleen Dewhurst and Jason Robards, two perfect evenings in
Mm,
the theater, and nobody ever will come close to
mm,
what that was for me, for where I was in my life and that experience, and I carry it with me to this day, the
mm.
brilliance of that afternoon.
Speaking of
So,
being, oh,
yeah,
sorry,
go on.
did you?
It's on you. I throw it back to you.
Speaking of being naked on stage, let's talk about Blasted. Well, that was, if I don't know who saw that thing, it was about 10 years ago, maybe even more.
It was the fall of 2008. So it's 10, 12 years ago now.
And it's you and Marin Ireland, who's done one of these Freeman Fridays and has taught for
Right.
us. And what's the name of the third actor?
Louis Canchelmi,
Thank you.
great actor.
Directed by Sarah Benson over at Soho.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was lauded critically, and a lot of people saw it, but it's a small theater. I don't know who's on this feed that saw it.
75 seats.
It was a seminal play for a British writer named Sarah Kane, who wrote two or three plays that just kind of blew out of her, and then she killed herself. So she's got quite a reputation in Britain and even over here. And this play is very hard to watch. Very clever of Soho rep because they designed the 75-seat theater so you couldn't get out if you wanted to. This thing, which was so was yeah, and locked the door. But what? Anything you want to talk about that performance? Because I have my impressions. But what was the? How did you get involved with that? And what was that like?
But Marin and I had been working. I'll give you the long version, but not too long. Marin and I had been working together on a play by an unnamed playwright that we helped write. It was 10 pages when we started. And we worked for a year and a half writing this play with her. And both of us got dumped from the production when it came time to do it. And Marin had done a regional production of it and then got dumped when it came to New York. I was dumped in New York too. I didn't do it out of town. And it was the first time that Marin had been through something like that, and she was devastated because she was the lead in the show, and she was fantastic. And so the summer of 2007, we would meet at French Roast and sort of commiserate, and we got pretty close. And Marin had done a workshop at Soho Rep, and she said to Sarah Benson, "You should do Blasted." Marin had done the American tour of 448 Psychosis, so she knew Sarah's work, and Simon Kane, Sarah's brother, who was the administrator of the estate. And Sarah Benson said, "I'd love to do Blasted, but Simon Kane won't let anybody do it." And she said, "Well, I know Simon Kane. Let me ask him." And Simon said, "Well, if you play Kate, I'll give you the rights." Now, I didn't know any of this. I didn't know the play. I didn't know that people had been waiting 14 years in New York to see a production of it. I didn't know any of this. And so Sarah said, he gave the rights, and Sarah Benson said to Marin, "Who would you feel safe playing Ian?" And she said, "Reed." So they send me the play, and I read the play. You know, it was 77 seats. It was going to be a 3-week run. The play I had done just before that, I had 7 lines. I was already in my 50s, and I thought, oh, this is clearly the end of my career. If this is the best I can get in my 50s is 7 lines in a not very good play. Wow. So here comes Blasted my way, and it's a huge, fantastic part, but it was not a part I would ever have thought I could play, or I wouldn't go see Blasted and say, boy, I wish I could get my hands on that part. And I read it, and on page 3, Ian, my character, takes off his clothes and says to Marin, "Put your mouth on me." That's page 3. And then it just goes on from there. And I said to Jack Doolan, fabulous Jack Doolan, I said, he was casting it. I said, "I don't think I can do this." It's too scary. And he said, well, it's just a reading. We're just going to do a reading. It's nobody's going to get naked. We did the reading, and I think I was probably not very good. The accent was terrible, and but anyway, I thought, you know what? They're not asking me to do this play as a favor to me. This is a big deal, I guess, for them. And if they think I can do this play, who am I to say I can't? And because it scares me so much, I should do this. It's 77 seats. Nobody's going to see it. This will be a good thing for me artistically after the 7 lines in the bad play. And so the thing that I did that helped me enormously was day 3 in rehearsals. I took off all my clothes because I thought that's the scariest thing. I'm going to do this now. I'm not going to be the guy that's like, I'm going to wait till tech. I wanted to get it out of the way. And I took my clothes off and I didn't die. And I suddenly was incredibly empowered. And I thought, all right, let's go. Let's do this. And it turns out that I had already been an actor for 30 something years at that point. And playing Ian in Blasted was like, oh, this is the part I've been waiting my whole life to play. And I would never have known it. Because I'd only played like Gurney characters. I played all these sort of nice, well-mannered, good guys. And suddenly I was playing one of the most loathsome people in the world. And it was thrilling. People would come to see the play and I would come bounding up the stairs afterwards and they were all green and shaking. And I was just like, where are we going to go?
That was me.
That was you.
I said to you, how do you do this thing 8 shows a week? And you said, it's fun.
I said, it's like playing cops and robbers. It really was. I had a gun. I had a holster with a gun. Who would ever put me in a part with a gun? I liked it.
Rape and sodomy, and you
sodomy
on sodomy on you. Somebody ripped out your eyeballs at one point.
Yeah.
You dug up a baby and ate it. It's like, I'm laughing, but it was not funny.
No, it was brutal. It was brutal. But I do think it's one of the most beautiful, life-affirming plays I've ever seen. It's astonishing.
And
if our visitors don't know Blasted, they really should read it. Or our version is actually at the Lincoln Center Library, and you can go see it there.
And I think you can get. I think now you can get without having to go there. Obviously, you can get it online somehow digitally. I hope.
Oh, is that right? I know that they have reopened it, but. Yeah. Simon has continued to say to me to this day, it's the best production of Blasted he's ever seen, which is incredibly thrilling for us.
Thanks for telling that story. It's about fearlessness is what you're talking about. And you know what I skipped over, which people might want to hear as they're coming to this little seminar with us, is an origin story. Everybody loves an origin story. And people are going to want to know what, because you mentioned I was in my 50s, I started then, when did this start, etc. You've been asked this many times. I'm sure you have an answer.
The career? When did the career start?
No, not when the career started. When did the acting start?
Well, I always wanted to be an actor. I was one of those freakish little 5-year-olds. I remember saying to a group of grown-ups, I want to be an actor. And they all looked as if I said I wanted to be a rapist. They were startled and they all nervously turned to each other. I don't know what they were thinking in their mind.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Delaware, and home of our future president.
Yes, there's another fellow who's from.
And I've gotten so many texts from people saying I need to play Joe Biden. So I feel like.
Oh my God, you could. You're a little young.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Anyhow, so I always wanted to. So I always had my eye on the prize, and I did all the plays in school and all that stuff. It's all I wanted. I went to Boston University after I got into Juilliard, and I didn't go, which I still kind of can't believe.
You tell that story.
Well, I just thought it was maybe the hardest decision I've ever had to make before or since. I thought 12 hours of acting a day would make me hate it. And I thought, even if I never go to a football game, I want to go to a college where there's a football team and just have that college experience. I want to share a house with some guys, and I want to have that college thing. And after 2 years at BU, I was like, I've had it, and dropped out and moved to New York. Yeah. I shared a house with guys, had a great time, still friends with all of them. And, and then I needed to get going. And so what actually brought me to New York, one day at school at BU, another student, an upperclassman, came up to me and said, they're doing a musical version of Look Homeward Angel on Broadway next year. You should read for Eugene. I didn't know anything about Look Homeward Angel, except there was a part for me, sure. So Frances Sternhagen was a family friend, and I wrote to Franny and I said, do you think you can get me an audition? They were going to do it at Circle in the Square. Can you get me an audition? She did. She called Ted Mann up, and I had this audition on a Wednesday. So I snuck out of school and I came down, took the train down, and went to the composer, Ted Mann's apartment on 8th Avenue, and sang for the composer and lyricist and Ted. And I think it went fine. They clearly had no intention of using me ever. But because they were nice to me, I became obsessed. And I dropped out of college and moved to New York and enrolled at Circle in the Square, thinking if I were at Circle in the Square, it would be a natural for them to cast me in the lead in their show.
That's just how it works.
Insane. Insane. Well, the second day I was at Circle in the Square, there was a thing in the paper saying, Look, Homeward Angel has been postponed. We're doing Where's Charlie with Raul Julia instead. Oops. So much for that plan. I then, after 3 months at Circle in the Square, hated it. It was a terrible, terrible program. I don't know if it's any better now, but my class was the meanest group of people ever put in one place. And you'd finish a scene and Nikos Zacharopoulos was our teacher, and he would turn and say, class. And people were like, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know. I didn't get it. Horrible, mean. So I got my equity card after 3 months doing a children's theater tour through Backstage. I sent my picture and resume in and went in and sang a song. So I went out for 9 months on the road. And in that 9 months, I became increasingly obsessed with Thomas Wolfe and Look Homeward Angel. So much so that one night we were down south, not far from Asheville, North Carolina, where the show takes place. I had a day off. I took a bus to Asheville and spent the night sleeping on the porch of the boarding house from Look Homeward Angel. Madness. And there was a point where I had transferred so deeply that if they announced the show with somebody else, I probably would have killed myself. Happily, they didn't. Time went by. I kept writing letters to the composer about my, identification with Thomas Wolfe. I hope there are no psychiatrists listening today. Anyway, time went by. The show ended. The children's theater tour ended, and I sort of got over it. It wasn't happening. And then in the summer of 76, this was the following summer, they were going to do backers auditions for it. And they called me in and let me do the backers auditions. For the summer of 76, I did all the backers auditions for Look Homeward Angel. What I didn't know is everybody who was doing the backers auditions had been cast in the upcoming show, except me, because they always wanted Don Scardino, but nobody ever told me that. And Don didn't want to do the backers auditions. So it was quite a wonderful time, including at one point we flew to Asheville and performed all the songs and the show in the boarding house that I'd spent the night on. So that was kind of thrilling. Then they didn't cast me. And I got cast instead in a tiny little show at Playwrights Horizons early. It was the second play at Playwrights Horizons the old days. It was a show called Gemini. So Gemini was just going to be a 2-week run. And I remember going in to rehearse Gemini in this freezing studio in Times Square, sobbing. Oh, they're doing this Broadway thing. They were going to do it out at the North Shore Dinner Theater. and all my friends are in Look Homeward Angel, and I'm in this stupid showcase, and blah blah blah. Well, anyway, Gemini was turned out to be an enormous hit. It transferred, it kept transferring to regional theater, and then it came back into Circle Rep, and then it moved to Broadway, and it ran for 4 years. I did it for 2. Look Homeward Angel, the musical, opened a year to the day that Gemini opened on Broadway, because we had a huge party in Schubert Alley for our anniversary. That night, I went after Gemini to the opening night party of Look Homeward Angel, where they still read the reviews that came out, and the reviews were terrible, and it closed in 2 days. So it was a huge lesson that I had to keep learning over and over again, in that you just never, ever know where you're supposed to be.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
It's a great story. It's a great story about just following. Well, it does a couple things for me. I love the thing about you sitting on the porch, sleeping on the porch, man.
That's sad. So sad.
If you know that novel, and then of course the play, and there's a good film of it too, with Anthony Perkins. That porch is so important.
Yeah, yeah. It's the boarding house.
The boarding house. A lot of stuff happens there. And
Yeah.
But your career, as I've observed it, is a series of these floating from one thing you don't know, and you do it for the pure. You're known, or you have been known. And I don't know if Jack's doing this here. I looked at the list. Jack might be watching as well. Who's casting a lot of things and also teaches for us. There's a little plug for the studio. That you do things because they interest you, and you've done things that are just no budget at all, down some alley somewhere with 12 people, and then you've done on Broadway, you've done big television shows, you've done a lot of big projects. Sometimes there's money, sometimes there's not money.
I get in trouble. I get in really big trouble if I do something that I don't like.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
And it's a lesson I've had to learn, and I think I finally learned it. But I mean, after the first show I did after Casa Valentina, where I was nominated for a Tony, was basically a showcase at here, a Claire Barron called "You Got Older," that was turned out to be a beautiful, beautiful job, and a great part, and one of the happiest jobs I've had. But I remember thinking, this is how I'm following up Casa Valentina at here?
I have a funny story about you, if you remember you telling this, but I'll hold that for a second. I want to say that when I called you about doing this, doing this event tonight, I called you because I just seen 40-year version.
Little version, right.
Rada Blank film. If you have a chance to see it, everybody, it's really easy to see it on Netflix. It's getting tons and tons of good press. It came out of nowhere, went to Sundance.
A beautiful
Netflix
movie.
picked it up, and and I'm sure you had no idea that this was
going to None. It was a little movie that I got offered in September of 19, and it shot in New York, so that was great. No money, but I'd never played a part like that. And so I thought, well, this will be fun. I never in a million years thought anybody would see it. And the next thing I know, it's at Sundance. I'd never been to Sundance before. So I'm going to Sundance. And then Netflix picked it up at Sundance, and Rada won Best Director. And I thought, geez, I remember being disappointed that Netflix picked it up, because I thought I wanted to go to a movie theater. Well, of course, it turns out that Netflix picking it up was absolutely the best thing. Millions more people are going to see it than would ever see it if it had gone to a movie theater.
Well, especially now.
Especially now, yeah. So,
and Welker's in it too. And I just turned on, someone told me to watch it. It's great. But the story about, oh shit, I'm gonna forget now. You're talking about doing what you like. I don't remember now. Anyway, what the hell was it though? What you're talking about? It'll come to me. Well, you just said, at least you said that you just follow that compass of what you like to do, and then that you pretty much said,
look, the dream was to be a movie star. That was always the dream. I knew I needed to be a movie star. And the closest career that has happened, that like Tom Hanks, that's what I thought I wanted. He's younger than I am, and he's came after me, but he gets to play funny things, and he gets to play serious things, and he's a great guy, and yeah, I'd like to be Tom Hanks. Well, it didn't happen. Time kept going by, and I couldn't seem to get any sort of higher forever and ever and ever. And um, and there was a certain amount of pain, of course. I think a lot of us, watch the clock, the calendar pages fly off the wall, and you're like, oh, it's not really happening the way I thought it would. Oh, isn't that sad? What a pity. Um, so the dream of being a movie star had to go away. I'm just too old to be a movie star. I can have a career doing film and TV, but I'm not going to suddenly be Tom Hanks at this late date. Those days are gone. But the truth is, um, it's all right. It's all right. When I was up for the Tony for The Humans, um, and there was a lot of, as opposed to the first time where everybody's like, Mark Rylance is going to win. There was a lot of energy around. Well, you might win, Reed, and it's like, okay, but there's this 6-week period between nomination and the awards where there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of noise, and there's a lot of people pulling you places and things. And I remember waking up one day and thinking, I think it's probably pretty good I didn't get to be famous in my 20s. I'm not sure I would have been able to handle. I can barely handle this now. So um, it's all right. It's all right. I'll tell this story that I've told my students, and it was a huge moment for me in my life. In '82, I did Hay Fever with Joanne Woodward out at Kenyon Festival Theater, and Judy Ivey was in it, and it was a.
Did you play?
I played Simon.
I played that part. We
I
should.
was just a boy then.
Me too. Compare notes.
I was just a boy. Who was your Judith?
A West Coast actor named Megan Cole, who it was kind of weird because she kept hitting on all the younger, playing my mother, but kept hitting.
Oh, I would say that like it's a bad thing. Okay.
We shouldn't be talking this in front of everybody. It was a very odd experience.
Anyhow, Joanne, this was this
Joanne Woodward, sure.
Beautiful production of Hay Fever with Joanne Woodward. And so, and Paul Newman was around. And, I got friendly with them for a couple of years. And at one point in like 1984, Paul is still a huge movie star, make no mistake. And in his bathroom in their 2-level New York City Fifth Avenue apartment was a framed picture, framed letter that said, "Dear Mr. Newman, last night my girlfriend made me dinner and we had spaghetti and it was so, so delicious. She tells me it's your spaghetti sauce. She also tells me you've made some movies. Could you tell me what some of them are?" This is 1983. And I'm like, there's a guy on the planet who's never heard of Paul Newman. So whatever psychological, like, I want to be famous, I'll be immortal, I'll live forever. It's like, no, you know what? There's a guy who's never heard of Paul Newman. And so really, it's just about being present, living your life, having a great life, being with the people you love, loving the people you love, and doing good work. And any dreams of immortality or fame, or it's all folly. What's the line from that fabulous Make Someone Happy? Fame, if you win it, comes and goes in a minute.
Yeah. I think that's... that guy does know who Paul Newman is. He knows he makes really good spaghetti sauce.
He makes good spaghetti sauce. But when I was making this Handmaid's Tale episode in October in Toronto, and one of the girls on the show, talented actress, not a civilian, never heard of Paul Newman, never heard of the spaghetti sauce, showed her a picture, never laid eyes on that guy in my life. And I thought, and you're an actor. This is your chosen field, and you've never heard the name or seen the face. Yikes.
Or Joanne Woodward.
I mean, if you haven't heard of Paul Newman, you certainly haven't heard of Joanne Woodward.
But she's a pretty phenomenal.
I mean, for us, yeah. But this 20-something girl, she's got her own people that she loves.
There might be people listening right now who don't know, but they're going to probably look it up.
If you don't know who Paul Newman is, go look him up. I just watched HUD the other day. What a fantastic movie that is. Holy cow.
And
HUD.
see, The Verdict is later in his career. The Verdict, amazing performance.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oscar for that. The thing too, I would say, is that somebody doesn't know you as an actor, but they know you're Ephraim's dad, and they like you for that. They may have no idea, or some
Yeah,
other.
maybe
The
they
guy,
think I'm a nice guy. I'm a good guy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
who
I
used
don't
to
know.
sit over in the corner booth. That
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, right. I'm nice to the doorman. I don't know.
So I remember this. I remember the story I was going to tell. So you won a Tony Award. Like
I
you
did.
won a Tony Award. Like
I know. I keep forgetting. I keep forgetting. I
you
want
come
to
into the, you come into the studio uh, to teach the first class after that happened, and I'm in the studio, and we're passing by. Right, like your class was after mine or something, and I saw you in the little front room, and I said, "Wow!" I give you a hug, and I said, "Now, Reed, after all these years, because this is everyone knows Reed always, I'm never gonna make it. It's never gonna happen." I said, "Can you finally say that you have a career of note? That you finally made it, but you got somewhere, little
Yeah.
Reed somewhere?" And you said, I don't remember what you said to me.
That is-
I said, "Can you just say that you finally?" I can't say that.
What a douchebag.
What's that?
What a douchebag. I can't.
No, I understood you perfectly. It's like, I, no, hell no, I didn't make it. I did something really great that got me this award, but that's not my career's not over. And you actually said you knew a guy, you did regional theater once somewhere, and you're doing the show, blah blah. I think you had a bigger part than he did, somewhere in some small regional theater. And then those of you who know this, some of you, you get the programs sometimes on opening night or in the first preview. The programs come. People say, "Oh, they got programs come out." And you look at the programs and you go, "Oh, I didn't. Wow, we never talked about this person was at that theater. Hey, you're at this theater, blah." And you looked in the program, and this guy who had a smaller part than you, he had a Tony Award.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the story? And he went, "That's going to be me. Shit, that's going to be me." It's the end of your career. Yeah.
I mean, that's unnecessarily fatalistic. I might have still been in shock,
So
honestly.
I'm overtelling that story.
No. And you do, for those of you wondering what happens when you win a Tony Award, it's an amazing night. And I remember walking from the stage to the press thing, which was in another building, walking outside and saying to the guy leading me, the press guy, I said, "Is this really happening?" Because it felt like surreal. I had suddenly gone through the looking glass. But then you go to the party at the plaza. They have this big after party at the plaza, and you are wandering around with your Tony Award in your hand, sort of looking around. A couple of my fellow nominees snubbed me bad that night.
It's weird.
Weird, disappointing. And you're sort of like, well, I wonder when the agent from UTA is going to come up and give me their card and say, we need to have lunch. No, it didn't happen. One agent from UTA came up to talk to me. And I don't even think she said congratulations. She was talking to my manager who was standing there and then left. I'm like, where's the card? What happened to the card? So, you just go. And then the next day I had to go to the physical therapist for my back. So it was like, I remember reading that after Eileen Heckert won her Oscar for Butterflies Are Free, she went to unemployment the next day. She had to go stand in line at unemployment.
Wow.
Your life goes on.
Yeah. I'm segueing quickly here. Oh, first of all, people want to ask Reed's questions. You can put them in the question and answer box, and we'll pick them. We're getting to
Ask away, everybody.
Point where we'd like to do that. You can just launch it in there, and we'll call on you. We'll bring you on the audio. Otherwise, I'll just keep asking. I bet people would be interested in knowing how you're surfing around between theater and film and television, where your thoughts are about that and what your desires are.
Well, nobody's doing much surfing these days.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm very, very lucky that this job that I'm finishing now in Vancouver, I had before the lockdown. So as I was running out of money all summer, I just kept thinking, well, I've got this to go back to. So I'm very, very grateful for that. Um, but I don't know. This ends in a week or so. I don't know.
Oh, I think you have to tell people. You were telling me earlier, so tell people what you're on set right now.
I'm on, yeah, I'm in the conference room at the studio. I'm on an Apple series called Home Before Dark, where I play a grandfather with Alzheimer's. Season 1 is now on Apple TV. If you have Apple TV, it's a beautiful show. That amazing little girl from the Florida Project, Brooklyn Prince, plays my granddaughter, and she's astonishing. And Jim Sturgis from Across the Universe plays my son, and it's a beautiful show. It's just on Apple TV, and we don't have any big stars, so not a lot of people have seen it. But it's a great show, and we're finishing season 2 now, or I'm finishing season 2. And then in May, I'm going to do a play with my son at the Barrington Stage, a play called Chester Bailey that I did at the Contemporary American Theater Festival with Ephraim in the summer of 19. And it's been optioned for New York, and Julie Boyd, who runs Barrington Stage, has gotten permission from the state of Massachusetts to open her indoor theater. So we will be back, unless the world falls apart again. We will be doing the play in May before any New York theater comes back.
Mm.
And the hope is that we can get some people up to see it and move it into New York, which would make me so happy to be able to launch my son's career. He's so incredibly beautiful in this play. It's the saddest play I've ever seen. And he mops up the floor with me. So I would love to be able to get him going.
People might not know your family with Connie, who's I guess most known to most people for Orange is the New Black.
Orange is the New Black. She's Yoko Jones, but those of a certain age know her as Patty Mayonnaise from the TV series Doug. If there's a window that if you're in that window and I say Patty Mayonnaise, people start to cry. Either side, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. But so, and our daughter Gus is an actor too, and she's just been cast as Courtney Cox and Greg Kinnear's daughter on a TV series that will be shooting for Stars in January, I think.
And all these things, not all, but a lot of things. Some things are starting to be shot in New York. I know Law and Order's back up. Some of them on it, but you're in Vancouver now, and then you're going to Toronto to do Handmaid's Tale.
No, I already did Handmaid's Tale. I did that in October, and then
people might want to know. I'm asking all the questions. Oh, there we got some questions in the question and answer box. It's like Halloween where someone's coming to your door.
How's it going, guys?
Hi.
I don't know if I can get my camera on, so it may just be my voice.
No, you can't. Just audio.
Okay. How's it going, Reed? My name is Lev. And my question is a little, it's very open-ended, but it's something I would really love to hear your input on. Obviously, you have a very decorated career for the last several decades, and I was wondering if you could speak to some of the insights you've picked up along the way, things that may have gotten easier, things that may have gotten more difficult, both for you and also colleagues of yours. I would really appreciate it.
Okay. The thing that's gotten easier for me is that I've gotten older. I sort of apropos of what we were saying at the beginning, I find I am not interested in working that as hard as I thought I had to work. I think you can get by. We can all get by with way less effort in our acting. That we can trust the material and trust ourselves. I know we've all had that experience when the curtain goes up and there's this moment of anticipation before the play starts where you're like, this could change my life. This next 2 hours could change my life. And the curtain goes up and within 10 seconds, you're like, oh my God, when am I going to be able to get out of here? This is going to be a nightmare. And then there are those times when the curtain goes up and the play starts and you just can sit back because you just think, I am in great hands. These people know what they're doing. They are not showing off. They just want to tell a story and live this story. And that's when my shoulders drop and I'm completely surrendered. So that's one of the things that as I've gotten older, I've had to work less hard. And it's a big lesson to learn. and that people respond sort of the way you always dream they're going to respond when you do that kind of work, when you're not showing off. I think a lot of times people don't actually understand what the job is. That a lot of time is spent trying to fill the unfillable hole. And big movie stars do it too. They are looking for something in their acting that is like, I'm valuable, I exist, blah, 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 as opposed to like, yeah, we all are damaged. I understand that, but let's just tell the story. That's what we're here for. And so when that happens, when you suddenly, I mean, lots of times we all go to see our friends in a play. And you're like, that's my friend Susie. Yeah, I know Susie. But all of a sudden something happens and I'm totally believing that Susie is this Appalachian hillbilly and my heart is breaking. And it's like, how does that happen? That's just Susie. I know what she does before a play. I know how crazy she is, or I know that she spills coffee or whatever. And then suddenly this magical thing happens. So to answer your question, I think, and I will say, the thing that I noticed about me when I won the Tony, after I won the Tony, was that there was a confidence that I perhaps didn't have before. And I feel a little bit like I don't have that much to prove at this point. Is that a bad thing to say? But also, like, I would keep a little list of who came to my play and who didn't. Oh, he didn't come. Well, and now I kind of, after the Tony's, like, I don't need anybody to come see me in a play. I have been acknowledged as much as anybody could ever be acknowledged as a stage actor. I don't need anybody to come see my play. So, does that help answer your question, Lev? I mean, is there anything else that you sort of want to follow up with that?
No, that answered it wonderfully, and definitely gave me a lot of insight and just clarity. And
I mean, I wish we all could have that confidence without having to win a Tony. I wish that I didn't have to wait till I was however the hell old I was to win one, to have that kind of confidence. But you know, to be acknowledged in that big, profound way made a huge difference for me. There's so many questions now here. Any suggestions of coaches? This is Shay Fernandez. Coaches, schools in New York City. Well, the Freeman, you can't go wrong at the Freeman studio. There's a plug for you.
Read.
Yeah, no, it's a great place.
Thank you.
Scott has taken care of, you know, you've got all the props and it's a beautiful space to work in. And he sort of has vetted the classmates so that, you know, there won't be a lot of duds in the class, and the teachers are all great. So I think anybody you could take. Maria Dizia is wonderful down there. Scott has a very popular class himself. That I would really recommend. I don't think you can do any better than the Freeman studio, honestly.
Right on. Thank you.
Yeah. Miranda Stevens, can you talk more about the 3 things that terrify us? Oh, okay.
Hey, Reed.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to hear your voice.
You too. Hey, really quick.
Yeah.
Did you say Appalachian?
Did I say that?
You know me, and you know my North Carolina. And
Appalachian. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's fine.
Thanks for calling me out, though. Boy, wow.
Love you, buddy.
I'm doing the best I can.
Tough crowd, but yes, someone said the same thing to me.
Amazing.
All right. I think there are 3 huge things that terrify us as actors and human beings, but our purview is acting. I think we're afraid of our power, that when we play powerful people, it's hard for us to actually take the power on stage and in the room. We're scared of that. We're terrified of our anger, our rage, and we're terrified of our sexuality. And so these 3 things are huge sort of flags where people bring on stage a sort of fake version of those things. Like sex scenes. Let's just talk about sex scenes. We sort of do what we've seen in movies where people like moan and groan in this way. But because we're terrified of the idea that anyone would actually see the face we might make when we're having sex. And so we, come up with this sort of weird, fake, romanticized version of it. And I think the same thing with our rage and the same thing with our power. We do TV versions of those three things. And if you actually had the courage to show those things on stage, it would go so far in breaking through all the other things that go along with it. Does that make sense? Miranda, did
Totally.
I say? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You bet.
You're the best.
Here, Griffin wants to know how you got so good looking. It's the turtleneck. The turtleneck. I also had my face scrubbed earlier. I look real good now. Okay. Tyrone Robinson here. Tyrone, are you there? Shall I read your thing? I'll never forget Reed's Tony speech. Can you speak about some of your earlier challenges and how you overcame them? How you balanced work life?
Well, your Tony speech was actually like the most honest.
Well, I'll tell you,
sorry about that. I was in
moment, hearing that I might win and all the chatter, I thought, okay, well, this might be your only shot at this, Reed. So, you want to do it right. I'm always so amazed when people get up and don't take the opportunity, don't seize the moment. They're like, I want to thank my, they tell you, you have 90 seconds. And they also say, don't thank your teachers or your parents. It might mean a lot to you, but it's not good TV. They literally say that to you. So you're like, oh, well, then what am I going to do? And I thought, you know what? Everybody who knows me knows how hard I've struggled and how long I've struggled. And I thought it would be really disingenuous for me to get up and be like, this is amazing. I'm so happy. And it's like, well, it's really taken a long, long time. And I'm really glad it's having a happy ending, but it sure didn't look like it was going to have a happy ending for a really long time. My challenges, Tyrone, were, for most of my career, nobody was interested in what I was selling. I think partly because I looked really young for so long, I looked so boyish, and I weighed 15 pounds, and they just sort of thought I was a lightweight. I think, I'm not sure, but I know that I couldn't get anybody to take me seriously. And it was really, really painful, as I'm sure you all know, as this idea is like, I've got something big to offer, and nobody, I felt like it was like I wanted to have a canvas the size of a wall, and I was being given a postage stamp and a Q-tip and told, do the best you can with that. It's like, I'll do the best I can with that, but this doesn't come close to me expressing what's inside me. So it was really agony, and you feel like a fool. You feel like I've made a terrible decision with my life. If this were a relationship, anybody of your friends would say, this relationship is very bad for you. You need to get out of this. You are totally codependent on this abusive relationship with show business. And I was. So I tried to leave 3 times. And the last time I went to a career counselor for 3 months, who had successfully rehabilitated several friends. They had wine shops and horse farms and were living their life. And after 3 months, this lady said, I got bad news for you. You're an actor. Like, oh my God, do I get my money back? What? Jesus, I'm an actor. But I think she was right. I think I am.
I'm so glad.
For better or for worse.
Thank you so much.
You bet. What advice do you have for, this is Stuart. Hi, Stuart. Actors for trying to stay creative. Well, Stuart, I know you. I know you are as aggressive and front-footed as, you know, it's all up to you. It really is all up to you. What you do and how you feel. This is the thing that I am still figuring out and learning, is that it's up to me how I feel. I say to so many people, your full-time job is to not let them win, because the world doesn't need another actor. And so the whole thing is designed to make you feel on the outside, but it's up to you to if you let them win, if you let them be right. I could have let them be right about me, and I guess I'm glad I didn't. But it was hard, and it's, you know, you create, you do every reading you can, you do plays for no money wherever you can. You know, it's totally up to you. Lots of people are like, you know, will be in class and I'm like, well, are you auditioning? No. Well, why not? Well, it's like, well, if you're not auditioning, then what do you think's going to happen? You gotta get out there. TikTok, you know. Must be fun to work with my
Thanks,
son.
Reed. I appreciate it.
My son is such a good actor. I'm a little flabbergasted by it. We were driving to North Carolina, to West Virginia to do the play, and he has to play a kid from Brooklyn in 1945. And he said, I'm nervous about the accent. And I said, well, let's hear it. And he started reading some of the lines. He sounded like JFK. I was like, oh dear, this is not going to be good. And the next thing I know, I don't know how it happened, he's in rehearsal with a perfect 1945 Brooklyn accent, like right out of the Bowery Boys. Perfect. And it's like, where'd that come from? I didn't hear you practicing. It's a savant, I guess. I don't know. Let's see.
Reed, I'm gonna pop back on Scott.
Okay, come on in.
Just because it's we're
It's time.
We'll talk for a little bit. People.
Does anyone mind if I keep talking?
You can go away, but I'm going to keep talking. Still light out there in Vancouver.
Yes.
I probably should wrap up for people, but I do want to say, oh, not at all. There you go. So, two things I want to say, but this is about you, and I hope this is a nice way. I'm making this up as I go along. I think this is going to be a nice way of, as a compliment, and also for people listening. And I'm reminded because I was working in class today, this afternoon, just before this, and we were doing Chekhov scenes. This is a kind of a task with these actors to see what would happen if we threw Chekhov. The actors who hadn't really worked on Chekhov very much, and Lisa Arundel, who's listening, is also on the faculty, was with me in that class. We were talking to the actors. And we're talking about just what's wonderful about working on Chekhov is just the base humanity and how much he's exploring what the heart is yearning for and so forth, correct? And I thought of that production of Uncle Vanya because we worked on a scene from the Annie Baker adaptation.
That's beautiful.
Which was a production at Soho Rep, coincidentally. That was a seminal production and also a small theater, but it was hard to get a ticket for that. It was running. It was Michael Shannon was in it, and he's got a big name, but it was beyond that. It was way beyond that. He was playing Astro. But you, Maria, Dizia, Merritt Weaver, just a stellar cast. Matt Mayer, and Sam Gold directed it. I think Jack cast it. But Sam told a story. I don't know if you know this story. When he was doing a workshop in the studio about casting you, and you may have a different take on this, but the story was that you weren't that interested. You didn't think you could do Chekhov. I don't know what that was, but maybe another of those roles you didn't think of for yourself, right, to play Vanya. Um, it was Reed. It was blowing smoke up your wahoozy, but that was, for me, a seminal Chekhov performance. Everybody was great in it, but it goes back to when I first saw you, and you were just in that, you were just that guy in that world, completely effortless, guileless, no pretense. And Sam told a story about how you have that big speech, you blow up and you get all pissed off about Serbryakov and you go off. Vanya goes off and throws a rant. And it was really good in that trend, in that adaptation too, because it was just very contemporary. Yeah. And you were eating like a dessert treat or something, like a little, I don't know, some kind of treat. And I always thought that was kind of amazing. That was Sam, that was you, blah, blah. And then Sam told this story how he was in rehearsal and you were always going off in between you had to have your Entenmann's little cakes. Right. And you were always wearing like a little sweater. I said, so wear the sweater. That's Sam now. Wear the sweater. And so you had that little button-up sweater on. And he said, I want you to eat that cake. I don't know if it was a Twinkie or whatever it was. And then when you go to the rant, you're still eating it, something like that. And what happened was you were eating it, and then you got upset, and so it was all over you, and it was all over your sweater. And as you're talking, you're visiting with the thing. And when he told me, I said, "Oh, that was just so Reed." And he's such a good director because he knew that was the essence of you.
Well, what I didn't brush them away. I'm ranting and eating this thing, and the crumbs are falling. And then I took the crumbs one by one and ate them off my sweater.
Even better. That's just you. That is a great story.
And that just happened in rehearsal one day. I was like, "Oh, that's good. That's really good."
And I want to say, I think Juilliard is phenomenal for the right kind of actor. Juilliard's phenomenal, but I think that had you gone to Juilliard, I don't know if that would have been this actor.
I think somewhere the blessed angels were guiding me, and I was also. It was the time when Michael Kahn was running Juilliard, and it was a very mean, unpleasant place. And I would have been in that famous class with Christopher Reeve and Robin Williams and Bill Hurt. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I guess I had a feeling that it would have eaten me alive, and it probably would have. Who knows how my life would have been different if how any of our lives would have been different if I'd gone down a different road. But I really, at the end of the day, you're catching me on a good day. I really don't have anything to feel sorry about. I did do a reading the other day of a screenplay, a beautiful, beautiful screenplay. And I was reading the stage directions, exterior barn night. And in a screenplay reading, that's the biggest part. But the romantic lead was a guy who's sort of up and coming and everybody's in love with him. And he wasn't very good. And he was, I think he's not a good reader. He was slow and he didn't know where he was. And so it was kind of a romantic comedy. And I thought to myself as I was watching it, 30 years ago, I would have killed in this thing. And for the first time in my life, I had this, you're too old. You're too old. Not that I could have gotten anywhere near this fancy movie 30 years ago, but, it was a part that I would have killed in. And that was a bittersweet feeling to be like, yeah, that's past. That's past.
Anyway. This is the path that you chose, or it chose you. And I point out to everybody listening, all those wonderful actors. I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, Ed.
No, nobody gets everything they want. And what I've gotten has been just fine. I have a beautiful family and a fine career, and I'm doing stuff that is interesting to me and challenging, and I'm very lucky. I'm very grateful, and I hope for everybody listening that they have the opportunity, however late you are in your career, young or old, that at some point, if you persevere, there will be the time when you can enjoy this and feel like you are acknowledged. It's very hard for a lot of our students who are, trying to hang on to something that lets them know that they're right. And I really wish that for everybody, that they have something shifts and they're able to enjoy without the pain of struggle that the career involves, that they're able to say, I'm doing exactly what I want to do.
It's a wonderful note to end things on. And I hope you're going to come back and teach for us as soon as you can, I think.
Yeah, maybe after the year.
After the year, yeah. We're still online for foreseeable future, but we're just listening to the news and see what's what.
Yeah.
And I want to thank, of course, you, Reed, and I want to thank everybody listening. You make the studio.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. That's really
everybody who's here. Nice turnout. And I also want to encourage you can still donate to Black Theater United anything you can. I just want to let you know that you find that on the invite. And we don't have another one of these planned, but it's in the works. If you have ideas for them, that's where we get some of our best ideas by suggestions. Let us know. And stay in touch. It's really important. I say this at the end of every one of these events, that we wish that you stay healthy physically and mentally, but perhaps most importantly, artistically, just like Reed's saying.
You know, the best part of our job, Scott, is the community. And so things like this they'll never replace hanging out at Joe Allen's after a show, but until we can do that again, this kind of stuff, where we can all come together and remind ourselves about why we're doing what we're doing is very important.
All right. I love you for doing this. Thanks for taking the time.
Great pleasure. Thank you, guys. Good luck, everybody.